Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is a special edition Plan and Traffic, where we got Stacey David from Gearz. What's up, Stacey?
How you doing, man? Good to be here.
Great, man. I'm enjoying having you on, man. You're like one of my favorite guests.
Well, I like being with you guys too, man. You guys are fun.
Yeah. So I'm glad we caught up with each other at SEMA, because a lot of times, so busy we miss each other. But I'm glad we caught up with you.
Man, and it was busy this year too. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that big of crowds. I really wasn't. And it was nice to see.
Yeah, it really was. Yep. Terry Wilson, me and him ran around there, and Tyler Long, he's in the chat room. But yeah, we had a good time this year. Got a lot of stuff done, and seen the right people.
Make some good contacts.
Yeah.
Did anything surprise you this year? Did anything stand out?
The Ring Brothers,
the show or the vehicles or what?
Yeah, well, it's always amazing seeing the vehicles, but the Ring Brothers really stood out this year. I mean, they came with probably 4 cars.
Yeah,
and, they're just doing incredible work. I just love their work.
Yeah.
My thing is it's like a reset. SEMA, I get to see all my old friends from throughout the years, and it's like starting the whole season over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get ideas on things to do on cars, and take care of your business.
Yeah, I really enjoy talking to the manufacturers and stuff and your friends, just like you're talking about, because it gives me a chance to kind of see what's in their heads and what they're thinking, what they think the new trends are going to be, what they're selling, what they're not selling. That's really important for us to kind of keep an eye on what's going on.
Right.
As far as were square bodies still hot, or what's coming up next, and that kind of thing. And also check out some of the new products that people have come out with. It's always nice. And they're always eager to talk about them at SEMA. So that's good. Yeah.
Okay. So since you brought up square bodies, what is your opinion on that? Square bodies or the OSBs?
Well, it's hard for me to remove my personal opinion, because I love square body Chevy trucks. Not as big as fan as the OSBs or the OBSs. But I mean, the thing is that they're getting hot, the later model body styles, and they're going to keep going. That I don't know if the square bodies, I think they're plateauing. I've seen prices coming down on them some, but then you'll see an auction where somebody will pay ridiculous money for them. But obviously the next body style, the OBS trucks, they're going to be hot because they were hot when they came out.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing, when you look at, like, if you go back to the C10s from like 67 to 72, when those came out, there was no aftermarket. So you kind of had to wait 20 years for an aftermarket to come out. And then when the square bodies came out, same sort of thing. There wasn't a lot of aftermarket. And then, LMC and guys like that always had replacement parts, but there wasn't a lot of aftermarket stuff. But the OBSs, see, there was already an aftermarket. As soon as they came out, there was already hoods, that kind of stuff back in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So that market's already there, and it's the same with all these other vehicles. But my personal opinion, I think the hottest body style that's going to hit, and I'll tell you why, is the 94 to 02 Dodge.
94 to 02.
Yeah, or the 01, whatever that body style, from 94, that trend-setting body style. And the reason I say that is because that was such a landmark design for Dodge that continues to this day. And Ford copied it, Chevy copied it for a while. I mean, that power wagon look, as we called it. But that body style was so hot, and anything that was hot back in the day, 20 years later, everybody's going to go back and grab them. So I see that body style probably being the next hot one. And I know Dodge would be happy about that. But, but obviously the Chevys, I really like the body style, the GMC truck from like 99, I think it was 99 to like 04, that had kind of that oval grill. And that was just a great looking truck. And, those are already hot though, so, but those are still cheap. You can pick them up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I've been looking. A couple of buddies bought the step side.
yeah.
90, what was it, 91, I think, 92.
Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so I
They're
kind
still
of,
affordable.
yeah. Yeah, but I can see them creeping up. I'm starting to see them on TV shows and stuff too. People are they're starting to get them juiced up.
Yeah, it's so crazy too, because I remember, when I first started doing trucks, we were doing stuff on those trucks when they were brand new.
Yeah,
It was like, hey, we're going to put a hood on this. This is the brand new thing. And now, it's come full circle. But
it's trendsetter.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but we had a lot of fun with it. A lot of that stuff was experimental too. None of those hoods, half of them didn't fit because they were prototypes and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it was kind of the dawn of that aftermarket though. And we had a general thing. It usually took about 3 years for the aftermarket to catch up back then, during the 2000s. And it's still pretty much like that. It's a little quicker on big things like when the new Bronco came out. It still took a year for a lot of people to get like lift kits out for them and, tops. And it just takes a while to do R&D and create a product for them. But it's a lot quicker than it used to be. It used to take 10 years.
Yeah, I noticed the Bronco. I was surprised that they didn't have a lot the first year.
Yeah. It just wasn't out. You couldn't get them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that there was guys like Skyjacker and Best Top. We were doing some stuff with Best Top, and they said, listen, if you can get a Bronco, we just want to get one so we can build a top for it. And there for a while, for 6 months, you couldn't even get them. Of course, they had problems getting them out to the public anyway.
Yeah.
They had recalls and that kind of stuff. But
then they had that chip shortage and stuff too. That affected.
Yeah.
It. Yeah. The original old Bronco, I guess it was the Bronco 2.
No, the original Bronco from starting in '66, the little Bronc.
The little one, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was 66 to 77.
So the story with my wife is she hated cars. She didn't want nothing to do with it. This is when we first started dating.
Okay.
So I took her out to a car show, and some girls rode by in one, had the roof off. And I was like, look, babe, you look good in that. She's like, oh, I like that. And then she started looking at cars a little different. And every year, even when we had kids, we'd go out to the same show and just sit out. It was the Hot Rod Supernationals here in Ohio.
Yeah.
So we would go out every year. The kids grew up looking at cars, and so that was, she said she wanted to be in the hobby with me. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so
that's awesome. When Catherine and I first started dating, she wasn't really into cars that much, but she was like, I'd like a classic car. And so, I was looking at her going, I know the perfect car for you, a Carmen Ghia convertible. And she's like, what's that? What's that? And we found her. Oh, she loved it. She loved it. Yeah. Of course, no air conditioning, and in the South, that's not a good thing. So but yeah, she's always liked it. But the Broncos, gosh, the early Broncos and the Scouts and the Jeeps, I love those.
Yeah, they're tough. The Carmen Ghia, man, that's a hot car. It's always been hot.
Especially the convertibles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had we took that car and I did some restoration work on it, put an engine in it and stuff like that and we had it looking really good. And I was selling. I put a custom fiberglass dash in it. Came down into a whole console that was really cool, and I was modifying it. And so we put the original gauges for sale. And this guy shows up because he's buying the original parts, and he sees the car and he about freaks out. He goes, "Is the car for sale?" And I was like, "Well, no, you got to talk to my wife." And she goes, "No, it's not for sale." He goes, "Well, the guy that I'm buying these parts for, it turns out this guy was a mechanic for this rich guy that wanted a Carmen Ghia convertible for his daughter who was just graduating high school." Okay, so the guy drives off. He said, "I'm coming back with my boss and we'll talk to you about this car." So I told my wife, I said, "Listen, if you don't want to sell that car, don't sell it. But if you got a price in mind, give him the price and stay with the price, because you're not listing this car.
Right.
They're coming to you. So make it worth your while." And at the time, I think she, you know, she wanted $6 or $7 grand for it, which was a lot of money then,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for those cars. I think I got it for $1,500. So that was a good profit for her. But anyway, this guy rolls in his big Mercedes, you know, and his daughter gets out and she looks at the car and she's like, "Oh, Daddy, I love it. I love it." I knew. It's like, uh-oh, you know, the daughters. So the guy comes up and he's like, "Okay, son." He goes, "What's the price?" And I looked at Catherine. She goes, $7 grand. And he goes, "Well, you know, that kind of thing." And I was like, "Listen, we don't have the car listed. Don't really want to sell it. That's what it's going to take." And he goes, "Well, I got to get a deal, you know, kind of thing." So they go back and forth. He goes, offers her $5 grand on it. She's like, "No, it'll take $7 grand." So they drive off. I can see the guy's upset. And it's more about, it's not that he doesn't have the money. It's about that he's got to win the deal.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to bring the price down. So they go up, you know, and a day later they're back. And he's like, "Okay, we need to talk turkey now. We need to get into this." So he gets to $6,500. And my wife is like, $7 grand. I want $7 grand for it. And he's like getting upset now. He's like, "Come on, you got to at least give me some, you got to work with me for some." She goes, "No, I really don't." You know, she was saying it with a smile on her face, which made it even better.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the daughter is there and she's all over this car and wants it so bad. Okay, so they get in the car and I can tell the guy's ticked off now.
Yeah.
So he's left. He can't get a deal. I told Catherine, I said, you know, I think he's gone. I think it's more the principle of the thing. I said that, or they're up at the Shoney's right now and that daughter is wearing him out for $500. And sure enough, man, they came driving back 30 minutes later and he pulls out the cash. He had the cash on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives her $7 grand. He's all frumpy. Off he went.
That's great.
Yeah. And it was like, wow. Oh, he couldn't stand it. We wouldn't give him a deal. But
what messed him up is he brought his daughter. He probably would have been good if he'd have left her at home.
Oh, yeah. Well, not only that, but, you know, I had messed with those cars enough. I mean, even at the time, and this was in the early 90s, that car in California, it was a $10,000, $15,000 car.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I knew that. So it's like, listen, I said, if you're really serious about selling it, you know, we'll just take it out there. I've got friends out there and we'll get some real money out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's funny, though.
One of my buddies here, early 90s, he had 2 of them.
Yeah.
His dad was really wealthy, and I don't know where they found them, man, but these things were clean. And he just beat them. He beat them to death.
Yeah. Were they convertibles?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And they're garbage now. He just killed them.
Yeah, they were bad about rust. If you got into any place, you know, they were typical Volkswagens. They would get rust in the pans.
Yeah.
You know, but great cars, man. I always liked them better. You know, they're similar to the Porsche Speedster.
Mm-hmm.
And the Speedster to me always looked more like a bathtub. The shape of the Carmen Ghia is very similar to the Porsche Speedster, but better looking. I think it's a better looking body style.
Yeah, I do too.
Now,
seems like it might be a little bigger too.
It is, and definitely more affordable.
Right.
But that's funny.
Yeah, those are great cars. So we were talking about my bus earlier, and I still want to thank you, man, for helping us out on the bus stuff.
Good.
It should be on the road this summer. I mean, I could drive it around now.
Yeah.
But it'll be pretty much livable this summer.
Okay. And you just informed me that you intend on living in that bus with your wife. You guys are going to drive around and do that thing. And, and you have told your wife that she is going to be living in a bus, right?
Yeah, she knows a little bit.
A little bit. You better be careful, man. She'd be like, I'm not living in that thing.
She's 100% down.
That's good. That's good.
She has some medical issues, and so she's out on disability. She's retired. So I'm going to retire early myself, and we're just going to relax and travel the country, you know, to see the country and visit all my car people. Okay.
So you're going to stay at like KOA campgrounds, that kind of stuff? You have it set up like a motorhome, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
But we're going to do a lot of the public lands. There's a lot of camping places.
Now, when you
like
say
that.
public lands, you're not talking about like Walmart parking lots and that kind of stuff.
No. I'm trying to stay away from Walmart.
Yeah, that's where all the semi guys go.
Yeah, the last ditch effort. That's where I'll be at Walmart.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah,
you set this thing up with all the plumbing and the fresh water and does it have a shower in it and everything?
Yes.
Wow.
Has a shower, a full bathroom, kitchen, just like a house. It's
Man,
like
you
a
put some
apartment.
work into that thing.
Oh yeah.
See, I thought you were setting it up just kind of like an RV, you know, that you could go someplace, plug into like a KOA. I didn't realize it was completely internal like that with a bathroom and the shower and the whole deal. Wow.
Yeah,
That's been a big project.
Yeah, we're also going to be able to go off grid for 30 to 60 days with the solar panels, and I got big water tanks, so I can unplug and survive.
Wow.
I got generators.
Okay.
You know, different 3 different types of heat. So once I get out there,
Lee, the big question is, why do you want to be off the grid?
just in case.
Are you like Jason Bourne or something? You're some sort of spy?
I wish I had Jason Bourne's money. You know, here's a couple problems. Not problems, but here's a couple things with me. I love gadgets, so
yeah.
I gotta have the gadgets, and I just love toys. You know what I mean? So all that kind of stuff is like toys to me. So
yeah,
you know, being able to go off grid, you know, you never know what's going to happen. I could be in a tornado or a hurricane or whatever. I'll be able to maintain. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man. I tell you what, you're actually thinking real smart. And I tell you what, if you come down this area, you will be in a tornado because we're getting a lot of them down here.
Yeah.
But no, having something like that, I mean, I've got a lot of vehicles. I've got several tracked vehicles, amphibious tracked vehicles, military vehicles and stuff. And the reason being, first of all, they're cool as stink.
Right.
But also, you know, you can go out, you can, you know, pull debris, you can rescue people. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff with them. And with the storms and the things that we have, it's smart to have something like that to be prepared.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. Not to mention, if I want to go sit in the woods and be alone, I can.
Yeah.
Or the desert.
I don't know, man. That's getting harder to do, man. Some of these woods, these public lands, they kick you out at midnight.
Yeah.
But
so you said amphibian. You sent me a picture.
Yeah.
Would you be okay for me to show it?
Oh yeah, go ahead and show it.
All right. Let's see here. Right,
I'm trying to remember which picture I sent you. Is it the swamp sprite?
I don't know what it's called. You know, I'm a rookie.
I bet that's what it is.
Let's see if I can get it to pull up here. All right. All right, I probably won't be able to find it because I'm looking for it.
When did I send you that picture? I'll tell you what.
A couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
it's the swamp sprite. Yeah, track has tracks on it.
Yes.
All right. Well, I can't find it.
Here we go. Let's see if you can see that.
Yeah, there it is. That thing is cool.
Okay. Now, what that is, I am so excited about this. We're going to do a whole historical thing on it. It's going to take my camera a second to catch back up. Okay. Great story on that. First of all, there are 3 of those known to exist. There's probably some more, but there's only 3 that we can find. The guy that I got this from specializes in snowcats and stuff out west. It's the name of the company is Remote Access, and he does a lot of the snowcat stuff. He chased the story of that for 20 years.
Wow.
And found it out in California, and I managed to talk him out of it.
Oh yeah.
We're going to do a whole historical thing on it, on, you know, how it was built, why it was built, you know, the military used them, you know, there's all kinds of stuff, but it's basically the chassis. There was a company called Thiokol that made all these snowcats. And it's based off of the Sprite, which is basically a chassis, and then they would build a custom cab or whatever you wanted it for. So the military would use them to carry missiles. Do you remember the old TV show Lost in Space?
Yes.
Okay, remember the tracked vehicle that they drove around on the planets? That was a Sprite. It was based off the Sprite. And
nice.
But what they did, these vehicles became well known in the snow because they were so good in the snow that the Snowcat was born. Well, they also had other things, and people came to them and said, listen, we want one of those things that floats, so they built the Swamp Sprite.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's completely different shape than the others, and just a really unique setup, and it's a little Ford straight six engine. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Now, how much are you modifying this thing?
Well, that's actually a really good question, because the other one that I rolled in a couple of years ago was a smaller Imp, and I was completely modifying it because it was a piece of junk and it just been busted all up, and it's not very valuable. Now, this being a Swamp Sprite, being the only Swamp Sprite that I know of that's complete with the full cab on it, yeah, you don't modify that a lot. As the body, I'm going to reskin the body, keeping the motor in it the way it is. Got new tracks we're going to do. There's a company in Canada that is going to do the tracks for it, and that kind of stuff. But as far as the look of it, I'm not going to touch that. It would be crazy to do that because it's just too valuable that way, and it's very capable the way it is. And
bet you it's fun. Now, does it have?
Oh yeah, it's got the two levers. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun. See, I've got a military vehicle that it's an amphibious tracked vehicle, very similar to this, a little larger. It's an M116 Husky, and it has the steering yoke. And honestly, it's not very fun to drive because those two levers. I mean, you can slip one a little bit and stuff. They're just, I mean, that's the tank thing,
Yeah, yeah.
So you want those brake steer.
That's cool.
But it's fun. That's, like I said, part of that, and that's what's always been part of the show Gearz, is that it's anything mechanical. And, I love Camaros and Challengers and Jeeps and stuff as much as anybody else. But, after a while, you want to see something else. And there are other things out there like buses and old tractors and, radio control stuff. And people are into all kinds of different things. And so I like to show that and encourage people to, this is down the line of, like, you found an old tractor or an old off-road vehicle or something that you'd want to restore. It's a whole lot cheaper than building a Camaro or your bus,
Right. Now that you said that, you're creating a vision for people that might have something in their yard they never thought about building.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of things because you're running out of all the hot stuff, getting bought up.
Yeah. And, the thing is, we tend to look at, old pickups. That was the deal with old pickups for a long time. You had grandpa's old pickup, and everybody was like, they'd look right past those old pickups and they would go to the Camaro in the garage or the Mustang or the cool car, the 55 Chevy, the 32 Ford, whatever grandpa had in the garage. But the old truck out back, nobody cared about those. You pick those up for $50.
Yep.
At least you used to.
Yeah, they're hot now.
What's happened is that people are like, those old trucks are pretty cool. And they're cool, completely built, slammed, smoothed out, done as a high-end, $100,000 rod. Or they're great as a beater, with patina on them and just, beat up seats and just enjoy it. And they, old trucks and four-wheel drive vehicles and Jeeps and things like that, they can be cool anyway. Old Camaros and stuff, not so much. You kind of have to restore those.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you drive around and people are like, hey, when are you going to restore that car? It deserves to be restored. And it's like, well, yeah, but I don't have money.
Yeah. Now, I was on the freeway. Me and my wife were on the freeway yesterday, or maybe the day before. And I seen, I don't know what those vans are called, but they were like the flat nose vans. I want to say it was a Dodge that you sit over the front of the wheels, of the wheels. but this was a dually with the engine behind the. It wasn't a van, but it was that front end of the van.
Okay.
It had the engine behind the cab, like under the cab a little bit. So you're probably sitting on the motor almost.
Oh yeah.
And it was a dually.
Somebody probably made that. I've never seen one of those. Both Ford, Chevy, and Dodge all made those flat-nosed vans in the 60s. Mm-hmm. And you sat right over the solid axle, and then the motor was right here between you.
Yeah, yep.
And somebody probably cut that off and made a dually out of it, which was pretty common to modify them like that. I remember, when I was growing up, the real common thing was to take the Volkswagen buses and take about 2 feet out of the middle of them and shorten them up, or the vans. They were pretty cool when they were done right.
Right. But, well, this it didn't have a bed on it, and it was all old, and and it was on a transport truck.
Really?
And I was like, oh, somebody's getting ready to do that truck up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She was like, that thing? I was like, yeah, they're about to put it to the work.
Yeah, they're cool. Yep. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I ran across one a while back. It was a Corvair pickup, which is the front style pickup, and somebody had whacked, probably 4 feet out of it. So it was a little stubby thing, it was just crazy looking. And man, I wanted it. I was like, yeah, I can't drag that home. That's just that Corvair stuff is hard to get parts for. And part of the cool factor was that it was a Corvair, so I would want to keep the motor in there. But
I have a story with the Corvair as well.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my dad worked at a dealership. This was 70s.
Yeah.
And so it was an old Corvair in the back, and I used to go sit in it while my dad was working. I go sit in it until I was driving and stuff.
Yeah.
So the owner, he's like, "Hey, you want to buy that car?" I was like, I don't have no money. He goes, "I'll sell it to you for $1, and I'll give it to you on credit." So I worked around the lot and paid for this car. I paid $1 for it. So
what?
Yeah, Corvair. This was 70, 78. I was
okay.
little. I was like 10 years old. So I worked around, and one day my dad was like, "Okay, we're gonna bring it home." And we went in the back, and somebody took it. It was gone.
Oh man.
So I never got it home.
Oh man.
I did get a refund though. He gave me $1 back.
He gave you $1 back. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I've done several Corvair cars, restored them over the years. They're a cool car to work on. Interesting. You can make them pretty quick, but they weren't in the ballpark of the Mustang or Camaro. That's really what killed them.
Yeah,
they couldn't compete, with the pony cars and muscle cars of the day.
Yeah. So I got a couple guys in the chat room.
Yeah.
Let's pop them in and see what we got going on. Oh, wait, before I do that, is there anything you want to share with everybody that you wanted to promote, or something you have going on, TV shows? Yeah,
we're going to be on MAV TV this season. So we're excited about that, all the new shows. And then, of course, we have our rerun shows, are going to be with you guys. They're going to be on YouTube, and they'll also be on MAV TV. So that's where you can pick us up. And we got some really cool projects coming up. Some of them I can't really talk about yet.
Okay.
But one of the things that I'm really excited about, it's been almost a 2-year-long deal. I'm working with a company that they're going to release a new component car. We don't call them kit cars anymore. It's pretty much a full-on car, but it is a replica of the McLaren M6 GT.
Oh, really?
Which is the old Hardcastle and McCormick car.
Yeah.
The Coyote. Yeah. Except this. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to roll it in on the show. It's going to be cool.
Oh, nice.
And it's affordable. For a mid-engine car, it's actually affordable. It's going to be in the price range of kind of what you would pay for a Factory 5 Cobra or something.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. What powertrain?
I've got a small block John Cossey Ford in it. It's based off of a Windsor. I think it's a 547 or something like that, but it's got the cross ram induction. I mean, it's cool. 630 horse, which is plenty for a car like that.
Yeah, light.
And I wanted to go a different route than the typical Chevrolet LS thing, so uh, just to give people options.
Mm-hmm.
You can put whatever in them, but it'll be cool. I'll send you some pictures of it.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be nice. Okay, let's get the fellas in and see what they want to talk about.
Hey, Stacey, how you doing?
How you doing, man?
Man, it's been a long time since I've seen you. It's back in the old Mako days. Back it was when you were at a couple of our expo shows and so forth, way back in the day. So
I remember. Are you still with Matco?
Oh yeah, still. Yeah. 22 years later. So
gosh, you remember that Ed Roth toolbox that I had?
Yep.
See, when I left trucks, that was my toolbox, and I left that toolbox there, and I don't know what happened to it. Somebody grabbed that thing.
Yeah, that's too bad because I sold a handful, and I actually saved one for myself, but it's the same thing. A guy comes by and says, "How much?" And you're just like, "Well, it's not really for sale," but start throwing numbers around, and next thing you know, I'm loading it up, and it was gone, and that was it. So, but yeah, it's some interesting, and I tell you, like I said, you helped me sell a lot of stuff from back in the day when
awesome.
So it's great seeing you again and
awesome. You too, man.
All right, we have Joey.
I'm Batman.
Yes, you are Batman.
How you doing, Stacey?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Oh man, I was wondering when he's gonna pull us all up so I can pull this thing off. I don't know how Batman does with these freaking latex masks on. Jesus.
Once you get it on, you can't get it off. That's permanent. Yeah. You know that.
I know. I'm gonna have to go outside and dip my head in the snow real quick and come get to peel this thing off.
So you still have snow there, huh? All of ours is melted.
Well, we're getting a little bit. I just live up the road from Lewis, and so yeah, we've had the same weather you've had, where it was freezing temperatures, and now it's nothing but rain, and just really depressing for Batman. It's horrible,
buddy. But depressing for Batman. Tennessee can't stand it. I mean, anytime the white stuff falls at all, it's forget it. Wrecks everywhere.
People it throws me 3 days off because my warehouse is for Maco's out of Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
And, every time a thunderstorm or anything with you guys, it's like lights out and we're down for 3 days. So.
Oh yeah. No milk, nothing in the in the stores.
Well, it's funny how when it snows in some areas, people forget how to drive, and like Eastern Kentucky. When I lived there, they're not used to getting a lot of snow, but when they get snow, people would just go plumb stupid after that because they didn't know what they were doing in the snow. So, but I need to take this mask.
The ice storms where the rain comes down in liquid form, and as soon as it hits the ground, it's ice.
Yep.
That was freezing rain. Yeah.
I had never experienced anything like that. I grew up out west in Idaho, so we got a lot of snow, but I had never experienced an ice storm. And I was warned about them here. And man, the first one, I had a 65 Mustang fastback with a lot of power. I was all over the place. You can't drive in that. You just got to park it.
Yeah. So Stacey, Joey was one of the guys helping me on the roof raise when you called in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So he gets you to do all the work, Joey?
I worked so hard my arm fell off. No joke. It's still laying in Tyler's shop there in Youngstown somewhere. They may have found it and used it as firewood too. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a door stop.
It's a door stop.
A back scratcher.
But yeah, during that live that Lewis was doing with you and Kevin Tates, you had asked specifically because apparently you had seen the call videos where we were calling each other.
Yeah.
And Bill Cameron had called me and I had the camera rolling. He had no idea I was on the other end with a Batman mask on, playing a little skit there that I was recording that I would share. But you obviously had seen that.
Oh, yeah.
And at the actual event, you had everybody else was like, "Oh, I wonder if he'll know who we are." And as soon as you said Batman, they all were like, hell, he knows who Joey is.
It's hard to forget a one-armed Batman.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm a huge Batman fan. I've got my Batmobiles over here. I've got my whole collection of Batmobile diecasts over here.
Yeah, well, I'm building my own Batman mobile.
You are?
You can see it.
It looks like a 32.
It is. It's a Roadster. This is the Revell. It's retooled after your Rat Roadster.
Yes, yes.
The black one with the flames is what this one is. But I'm going to call it my Batmobile.
Nice.
Old school. But yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
Coach Isaac, you want to jump in?
Sure. I've been watching you since early 2000s on trucks. And
awesome, man.
Anything that you've been on. So it's exciting to be on here and get to talk to you.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I like I finally got to finish watching because it hit YouTube because the channels changed and our cable service wasn't carrying it. But I watched when you were building that Cougar Interceptor. And finally, when it hit YouTube, I've been able to finish watching it, and I was pretty excited about finally seeing the finished product. And then I enjoyed when you built that SLC, that component car.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That was awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I like the detail that you put in on your show. You know, the stuff you go through and the explanation you give. It's really good.
Thank you. It takes a lot of time. You know, we're trying to do even some more of that now that we can put some of it up on YouTube, because there's so many things that come up that because of the time on the show, we just have to bypass them. And those are the things that people get stuck on. It's like, well, what did you do here? You know, and some of those can be big decisions. So we try to include more of those. So thank you on that. Did you hear what I was telling Lewis about that new component car we've got coming out?
Yeah, right before we came in. Yeah.
That McLaren M6 GT.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome.
Long deal. I should have it. I should have had it already. I should have the chassis here by February, end of February. I should have it. And they're still working the body. And so it's going to be cool. Long story on how that worked out. But, you know, we're trying to get true mid-engine cars out there for people that can afford it, not just for the $200,000-$300,000 guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have a quick question. On that front end on that Cougar, would that fit in a Ford Maverick?
Maybe. I tell you what, I know that TCI has other front suspensions. That's how I used on that.
Yeah.
They may have one that's a direct fit for the Maverick. I believe the Maverick is narrower.
Okay.
So that's where you're probably going to run into a problem, but I'm sure that they can narrow the cross members down. I mean, I did that car a while ago before all these kits had come out. So, and the Mavericks are pretty hot. Do you have a Maverick?
No, I don't. I have a buddy that used to have a bunch of them, and I've thought about getting one. I've got a 72 Chevelle. Before I start anything, I've got a 73 Porsche 914 and the Chevelle, and I got to get both of those going before I can touch anything else.
Yeah. If you cut down, like I said, if you narrowed it, that's a lot of work. I mean, that's not a cheap front end.
Yeah.
So I would just have him call TCI and say, listen, I got a Maverick. What have you got? You know, that'll go in there. They will have something, or they can put you off to somebody else. Fat Man Fabrications may have something.
Okay.
Chris Alston Chassis Works. There's a lot of guys that are doing those now that might have something that you can do. So
I think Justin might have an answer.
I think they do actually have one, Coach. We were on TCI's website last week. We were looking at, my boss has got a 66 Fairlane. It's got a TCI front setup in it, and I think I saw they have Mavericks.
They do.
Awesome.
They do.
Yeah, that's a great setup. You know, now the one thing I would recommend on those Ford setups, we showed it a little bit, but as you know, those Mustangs and Mavericks and stuff, those Fords, they didn't have a real subframe in the front. It's more like a glorified thick sheet metal frame.
Mhm.
And it's not strong enough, in my opinion, for any kind of real horsepower. If you're going over 400 horsepower, you need more, or you'll twist it up. So basically what I did is I took, 1/4-inch steel and boxed that and built a full frame under that car, and put the outriggers and all kinds of stuff, the subframe connectors. That car basically had a full frame under it because it's 850 horsepower.
Yeah.
And I would recommend especially a Ford, because they had that. Chevrolet's had more of that bolt-in subframe. I would go ahead on the Fords and just plan on boxing up that frame and just making it strong, because you're going to uncork it. He's probably going to put a 9-inch in it with some sticky tires and a stick. So better to do it, because you don't want to twist those cars up, and you can do it.
That's what happened to my Mustang, my 66 Fastback.
Yeah.
I twisted it up pretty bad. And the guy told me, and this was 20 years ago, he said, you should just go find another one, because it's going to cost you so much to straighten this one out.
Yeah.
But it was my first car, and I ended up paying the guy tons of money to straighten it out and get it fixed. And one day, hopefully, I can put it back together. But it's like you said, they do twist.
Yeah, and once you twist a unibody car, they're not easy to straighten.
Yeah, I paid a lot of money.
A lot of stuff.
I told you, put the car on a trailer and send it down to me, and I'll put the car back together for you. Just
I'd take him up on that, man.
I know. Well, I'll get around to it. Trust me.
We're gonna be showing up at your garage, Brian.
I know. Well, you all can stop by. We got time, like I said, I got enough for everybody to do.
You should have said that before I moved.
Yeah, I know.
What's up, gentlemen?
Terry, look at that.
Hey,
Terry, what are you doing, man? Good to see you.
What's up, Stacey? How you feeling, buddy?
Doing good, man.
Yeah.
I'm
getting prepared. As you can see, I'm getting prepared for the jam session that we're gonna have.
I like that, man. See, what do you got on the wall back there? I see pictures, pianos, drums, no guitars. Shame on you.
There's a bass guitar. Oh, hold on a sec.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
I keep that under wraps because I don't want my son to see it just yet, because he'll see, nice shiny, he'll start wanting to play it. So I don't want him to see it just yet.
Oh yeah.
So me and Terry are going to sneak down there this summer, I think, down to see you, Stacey.
Well, come on down. Let me know, man. We'll put you on a podcast and do some stuff.
Now,
Yeah, sure.
I apologize. I thought you were in Chattanooga. You're in Nashville.
We're in Nashville, just north of Nashville. I'm about 20 minutes from downtown, so just in the Nashville area.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyler will be with us. I forgot to throw him in there. He's the driver.
Now that I'm learning about this, I would like to go to. But let's see.
You fly into the Nashville airport, man. It's Guitar Central, man. They got like these guitars like just in these cases. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love going to Nashville.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what, it's changed a lot though. In the last 5 years, Nashville has become a completely different city. Traffic is a mess. It's turned into, it feels like Atlanta, especially traffic. So it's been interesting. It's the number one location for bachelorette parties. So there's a bunch of drunk single girls looking for cowboys downtown on any given night.
Or you got Barmageddon now with Blake Shelton and that bunch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's going on.
That's funny.
Last time I was in Nashville was in 2013 for the Snap-on franchisee conference. They rented out a whole bunch of the bars downtown.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they've started to shut down, like on Saturday nights, they actually shut down Broadway like they do in New Orleans, where you can't drive.
Wow.
And it just becomes this foot traffic. And, that's a cool idea. But just like New Orleans, now there's guys, throwing up on you and, that kind of thing. The homeless have gotten real aggressive. And And unfortunately, Nashville's not really set up like that. It is a music town, so people like to come to hear music, and that's become the challenge. The city is starting to fight the tourist industry, which we'll see where that goes. But in the meantime, there's a lot of cool car stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of car stuff, I have a question for you, Stacey.
Yeah.
Every car guy has that one project that they just can't seem to finish, right? It's that one thing that takes them forever. It doesn't even have to be on your project car. It could be a shop mod or a tool you've been designing forever. But there's that one like unicorn project you can't finish. And for a good decade, I thought that was Sergeant Rock for you. But what is your unicorn project that you just can't seem to walk away from and say, yes, it's finally done?
That as far as one just to finish, or one that is just drives me crazy?
Either way.
Okay. There was one. I mean, very rarely do I have to get rid of a project before it's done. I try to never do that. But there have been a few that I've had to do that with. And some of them are kind of like, whatever. They were something that I was building for a client, or something other kind of things. But there's been a few that were mine, and that for me is the Harry Holler truck. I started that back on trucks. It was at 34 International. Chopped the top, had the Hemi with the crazy stuff. That was a really cool truck, and I was building that for me. And when I left trucks and started Gearz, I was taking Sergeant Rock and a lot of these other projects, which I was not going to stop. But I had to do something that separated trucks from Gearz. So I couldn't take all trucks projects. So I had to make the decision of, the 34 International is kind of an odd bird, like all of them are. And I got to do something a little more mainstream, and it needs to be a hot rod car. So I got rid of the Harry Holler, and that's when I jumped into the Rat Roaster, which is a very similar hot rod style build. Always regretted that. And to this day, I'm still looking for that truck. The person I sold it to, they never did anything with it. It's obviously sitting in their garage. That they sold the engine. I don't know what happened to it, but I would love to find that one and finish it, And so that's kind of one of those ones for me. It's funny that you mentioned that. I actually covered that on a current podcast of knowing when it is time to get rid of something. Because a lot of guys, for example, I've got a friend that's got an old Roadrunner that he's had for 30 years. He's never going to finish it. It's way beyond his skill level. He should have never bought it in the first place, and it's starting to cost him issues with his family. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have room for it. He's got too much money in it. He can't drive it. He'll never get it finished, and no matter what you tell him, he won't see it that way. And I keep telling him, it's like, listen, it's okay if you sell it, take the money and buy one that's finished or that you can enjoy, and your wife won't hate you anymore. Right. But he's like, oh no, it's become like, a pride thing. And I'm like, dude, that pride will kill you if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have a question on, I know that you found a couple of your old vehicles. Yeah. Is there a way to, like, I have my second Cutlass. I had a Cutlass Supreme that I'd like to find. Yeah. Is there resources to go to find stuff?
Honestly, your best resource that's legal. Now, obviously, you can do a title search if you know somebody that's a policeman and can do it legally, but that's a little dicey. I wouldn't recommend that. Mm-hmm.
But like, I have
off the grid.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I tell you what, your best bet is to social media. I mean, everybody's connected now. And that's how I will eventually find that Harry Holler truck. It's sitting in somebody's garage, and we just keep putting the notifications out, and eventually somebody will go, I think Kevin has that, or Bobby over in his garage or whatever. Tim Strange just found his dad's old 55 that way.
Wow.
He just put the word out, he showed a picture. He goes, "This is Dad's old car," and he found it.
50 some years, they found the uncertainty.
I saw that. Yeah.
I just recently.
Know, I built models of that car, man.
Did you?
Yeah. I recently found my
that
high
car.
school.
I don't.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Starbird's version was. It was like Banana Tea or something like that on the Starbird version.
Yeah.
I have to look in his books and see. And then there was another one on the East Coast, like New England area, that was white, and it was kind of a cross between that one and a telephone booth car.
Okay. You're talking about the milk truck.
Maybe that was.
Was it Dan Webb's milk truck? Or I don't know if it was Dan that did that, but it was Webb.
Again, it was in that same time frame of the 60s.
Yeah, all that T-bucket stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I saw that yellow one. Yeah, that's pretty slick. Yeah. I just recently, this past year, it was right before Christmas, discovered and found my high school sweetheart, which was a two-door 1959 Chevrolet Impala.
Ooh.
And I have it back in my possession again.
What motor?
Well, it had a small block 350, but now it has nothing in it. And it had the 2-speed Power Glide, which the Power Glide I think was original to it when I got it, but the engine itself, when I got it, was not original.
What motor are you going to put in it?
An LS.
I got rid of it. I don't know. It's one of those things where I just got it back. And so I'm kind of kicking myself for ever getting rid of it because of the shape that it's in now. It's in worse shape now than it was back in 1984 when I first got it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going to take, if I do anything with that, it's going to take a lot.
Have you seen that new stuff that Low Car has, where they have for example, they've got valve covers, like 409 valve covers that go right on an LS, and it makes an LS look like a 409.
Okay.
I mean, other than the valve covers are a little smaller, you can't tell. And they've got them for old Fuelies. They've got them to make it look like a big block. Yeah. Right now, it's all Chevrolet stuff, but
Pro Components or something like that.
Yeah.
Jeremy Jones, the gentleman that's owned Space Junkie 1.5 now.
Okay.
Pro Components, I think, is the name of the company that does all that high dollar billet LS valve cover stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen those.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's some good looking stuff.
Yeah. And before I get too far into this and I forget, my friend Too Tall in the chat wanted me to tell you that he has an old Stacey David Crazy Horse Bronco model kit.
Really?
Yes. So I don't know if that was someone that had made one or if he just fashioned a Bronco.
He probably did it. We didn't do model kits. Let's see. The only one we did, we had the Rat Roaster model kit.
Yeah.
And then the Crazy Horse, I mean, they had Bronco kits where you could make one out of it. And then we got several die casts and stuff. Yeah. It looks like now Acme says they're going to come out with a 1/18th Copperhead die cast.
Get that one.
So we'll see.
My favorite project right there, Copperhead. I love me Copperhead, man.
Oh yeah, I love
me too.
Listen,
do you still see it?
I go back and
do you know who has it?
Copperhead with me being a gearhead today.
Yeah, that was.
I really am sorry that I unfortunately all that Power Block TV when you were on and all the vehicles you built and were part of, I'm not familiar with because Saturdays I was building my own stuff. I wasn't at home watching TV.
Good.
So let me jump in about Copperhead. So I was at a car show in Tennessee. No, where was I? I was in Alabama. So I see Copperhead. So I call Stacey. I'm like, Stacey, or I think I texted you. I was like, hey, I see Copperheads down here, right? And so I sent him a picture. He was like, oh, that's pretty nice. He goes, but that's not it. I was like, what do you mean it's not it? I'm looking at it. He's like, oh, no, that's a replica.
All right. Now, I don't know if you saw the show that we did last year, but let me give you the whole story on this. I'll give you the short version of it. Okay, you sent me that one. And so it sent some alarm bells off. I had known that there were some replicas out there. And I have no problem with replicas as long as they tell you that they're replicas. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now last year at Mecum in May, we get flagged. Anytime something Copperhead comes up or any of the vehicles we've done, we get flagged on it. And all of a sudden, I'm getting calls from people, and it's like, Copperhead's for sale at Mecum. And I'm like, well, that's odd, because I know the guy that owns it. It's in his will to his kids, and he's turned down $250,000 for it. And he doesn't need the money. It's, it's a family member now. So I'm like, I don't think that's right. So I look at the picture. I can tell immediately it's not the right one. It's got the wrong wheels on it. It's the one you saw. Mm-hmm. Except in the ad, it says right there, built by Stacey David on Gearz TV. I mean, it's totally misrepresented. Okay, so I call the guys at Mecum, and I said, you got to be careful. I said, that's a fraud. Don't let that go through like that. And anyway, it sells. And, and there was this our website blew up, and all of our social media, because guys were like, it's not the real Copperhead. Had a small block Chevy in it. And evidently, the guy that was selling it, the story had been circulated that I had taken out the 572 and kept it and put a small block in it and sold it. So I basically desecrated my own truck, which is incredibly stupid. I would never do that. Right. But that's the story that this guy had perpetuated. It was selling the truck. So anyway, I don't think anything of it. I'm like, I'm out of this. I told the guys at Mecum, I said, guy's probably going to want his money back. Let it go at that. So I'm at church about a week later. A guy comes up. He's a bass player, by the way. And he goes, hey, he's working on a Buick. He said, do you have any headers for a Buick? So we're talking about his Buick stuff. And he goes, hey, my buddy bought your truck. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a truck for sale. He goes, the Copperhead truck. Uh-oh. I said, did he buy that truck from Mecum? He said, yeah. I'm like, that wasn't the real truck. And he stares at me and he goes, I don't think he knows that. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I don't want anything to do with this. I said, you need to tell your buddy. Now, this guy's a wealthy businessman here in Nashville, come to find out. I'm at an auction looking at cars that are coming up for sale. And this older guy walks up to me and he goes, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I just bought this truck and I'd love to have you come and look at it. I don't know what I have. And I'm like, he lives 8 miles from me. Oh. And so anyway, I go over and look at it. Sure enough, it's the replica. They ripped it off. It's a nicely done replica, but it's a replica. But it was completely positioned as the real one. And I said, I'll tell you what. And he's pissed now. He's going to sue Mecum, and he's going to go and all this stuff. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, this is a really good opportunity for me to touch on this in the industry. I said, the real Copperhead is going to be coming back to me. It was getting ready to go to the Grand National Roadster show last year. And I was going to put new wood in the bed and just do some maintenance on it. I said, if I could borrow your truck, I want to roll them in nose to nose on the show and say, one of these is worth 60 grand. The other's worth 250. Why? And why is it important that you can tell the difference? I mean, it was a great show because of that. And I also had a replica Z28, 68 Z28 Camaro there, because that's where guys are really getting screwed. Mm-hmm. The custom vehicles like Copperhead, it's so uniquely one-off that it's kind of hard to totally rip that off. But a DZ302 or a Roadrunner, a Hemi Roadrunner, I've seen guys that will take, Hemi engines, mill off the numbers, put them in there and sell them as a real Hemi car. And unless you're really sharp, you can't tell. And then just like with this, okay, so anyway, long story short, we got it taken care of. I told the guy, I said, listen, if I go out there and I recognize this as a nice replica, you're good. If I use the F word on this and call it a fake, this truck is worth nothing. No one's going to buy a fake.
Right.
And I said, so let me just, somebody did a good job making it a replica. Let me just walk around it, compare it to the real one, and let me show what you have to look for. And it turned out to be a really good show. And he's still got the truck. He's happy with it now. You know, but anyway, it's a big deal where, you know, these vehicles are starting to get worth so much money, you know, anything with a pedigree, you know, and especially numbers matching this or that SS Chevelle or whatever. Man, there's a lot of unscrupulous people out there, you know, and it's just, you really got to watch it. And that kind of stuff drives me nuts because as a builder, each one of you guys know what it's like to buy a vehicle and then pull up a panel and find a bunch of chicken wire and Bondo.
Yeah.
You know, on a restoration
vehicle. Yeah. I have a customer's vehicle that's darn near becoming well, let's put it this way. It's been at my shop long enough I can send it to kindergarten this year.
Yeah.
But it was like that. He bought it out of a barn, thought he was getting a diamond in the, you know, not even a diamond in the rough, but a diamond with some lipstick on it.
Yeah.
And way overpaid. And now he's double or triple upside down in the thing, just trying to get it to be a serviceable, drivable car.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to,
and like you said, because there's people out there without scruples.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we as the industry, and that's what we are here. We're all part of this industry. Man, I warn people, you know, the Mecum stuff and the Barrett Jackson stuff and all of these auctions are really popular. And they're the you know, like Mecum, they're just in it to make money. So they're not going to watch out for you. It is buyer beware. So I try to tell guys, it's like, this is what to look for. You be really careful, you know, and, you know, crawl around it as much as you can, get as much interest. And if it seems like it's too good a deal, it probably is.
Right.
So Stacey, let me ask you a question real quick, Stacey.
Go ahead. And then I'd like to say about all this.
Okay. When you called Mecum up to tell them that it's a fake, could they have, I mean, was there enough time for them to pull their car or either say, hey, listen, this is a replica. This is, you know, we just got a call from Stacey Davis. This is not, you know, the original Copperhead. Could they have done that? Or is it just like, hey, we're just going to let it pass by?
They could have said it. Now, I didn't watch it go across the block. But in the ad was already printed. So they couldn't have changed that. But when it came across the block, if the announcer would have just said, hey, this is a replica of the vehicle. And from what I understand, they did not say that. And when and to their credit, when David went back to them and said, listen, because he's bought a lot of cars with them, you know Dana Mecum personally. So they said, listen, we'll put the truck back in the auction. We'll try to get your money back. And so they were willing to work with them. But that's because he wasn't just your average first-time buyer. And so, but even then, they were not willing. They didn't just say, okay, we'll give your money back, which in my opinion is what they should have done. They should have said, listen, we didn't understand. We misrepresented it. We made $300 million last year. Here's your 60 grand back. And then just put it back for sale as a replica. Boom.
Right.
You know, that would have been a simple fix.
Yeah, I watched that show that day, and I don't recall if they said that or not, if it was replica. I don't think they did, but I knew as soon as they raised that hood and put that camera there to where you could see that engine, I was thinking that's either a fake or the engine was changed. But I thought, why would they do that?
Yeah.
You know, because that was supposedly, according to your show, that was the very first production of that 572.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Yeah, and then you even had the valve covers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with the number 1 and Copperhead and everything on there.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, so I knew, but when I saw your video come up about it, I thought, okay, now I'm going to find out. And sure enough, it was a fake. So,
well, one of the reasons why I failed to have solid employment in Texas is the handful of shops that I've been in, and they present themselves very well to the public, and they got some decent looking cars in their shops. Yeah. The shitty work that they want and done to get something to move, it's solely cosmetic, nothing structural, nothing truly safe. Some of the,
if it looks good, that's good.
Yeah, well, that's not the way I work. So,
no,
I tendency to voice my opinion on how to build a car because I know the proper way to build a car.
Yeah,
it takes time and it takes money.
And see what you got. You're exactly right. What you have is a lot of guys now that they see the big dollars that the vehicles are bringing, and they want to get in on that, but they don't want to learn the skills. They don't want to invest in the tools, and they don't want to take the time to do it right. So they cover that stuff up. They take it out there, and then they throw up their hands. They're like, "Hey, it was great when it left here, or whatever." And it's epidemic, And so when people ask me about shops around here in town, where to go, I'm very careful who I send them to. And usually the good shops are backed up for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But, a lot of people too, they come in, and this is one of the things that I've got a new book coming out on restoration to try to talk people off this cliff, as you guys know what I'm talking about, where a guy comes in and they're like, I want this and I want this, and they want a Ring Brothers level car, but for 40 grand. Yeah. And I'm like, you might get the drivetrain, for that. If you want that level of car, you're going to have to pay a couple $100,000, or and then they're like, well, so what can I get? So then you're backing them off the cliff. You're going, okay, how do you want to drive the car? What do you want? Do you really want a $40,000 paint job? And you guys all know what I'm talking about, where the guys, eventually they're like, well, I just wanted a car to kind of drive around and have fun with. And I'm like, okay, a Carmen Ghia convertible.
There you go.
You're absolutely right. And that's like just the other day at the auction, Barrett Jackson, I just could not believe that 77 F350 crew cab 4-wheel drive went for $200,000.
Crazy.
And the Bronco, the same year Bronco, our 78 Bronco went for $210 or something, Yeah. And again, it just throws the more fuel on the fire. And now everybody thinks that they got $1 million for a car.
Yeah.
And it makes it really difficult for the average guy.
And that was another thing I wanted to say about the auction houses like Barrett Jackson and Meekums and stuff, is I think they've skewed some of the public opinion, if you will, about what these classic cars are worth.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's actually part of the problem with the one I already mentioned at my shop. One of the first words out of his mouth when he brought the car to my shop and I was already committed to work on it, he goes, yeah, I see these roll across, Barrett Jackson for $90,000. And I'm thinking to myself that those cars are not what this car is going to be. They're not what this car can be without $100,000 investment.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of these guys don't realize those cars that are going across the block at 80 grand, somebody has 150 in that. And they're not being honest, because any of those kind of things, they're like, well, it's like some of the reality shows that are out there that will remain nameless. They come in and it's like, we have this in it. And it's like, you didn't talk about labor. You didn't talk about anything. Labor is your big cost on a custom build.
Yeah.
It's like,
Stacey, 20 years ago, I sat down and I was sitting around with a bunch of very high-end people. And it was on a Saturday night around a big table. And keep in mind, this has been 2002, 2003. So every bit of 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And we sat down and we figured it out. Point blank. It doesn't matter. It was going to be 3 years and $130,000.
Yeah.
Redo a 69 Dodge Dart or a 250 Ferrari GTE.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, which one do you want to do? Nobody's going to do the 69 Dodge Dart in 3 years and $130,000. Anyone with a GTE is. So let's focus on the GTE customer. And the door doesn't know if it's a Ferrari, a fire truck, or a Dodge Dart. It takes the same labor, it takes the same materials, and it takes the same skills.
Yep. Yeah, except on those Ferraris, you got to hand make half those body panels.
Okay.
That's even worse.
Right.
I see nothing wrong with that.
That's why I started learning how to do this myself, because I said, you know what? At an early age, I was like, there's no way I could just go and drop $60,000, $70,000 on a mediocre 69 Camaro, you know?
Yeah.
So I was just like, let me just learn how to do this myself, pick up the car for a skeleton, a shell, which is the way I like them, because now it's guilt-free. You know, if it comes with like a 350, you feel kind of bad. If the 350 is running, you kind of feel bad, you know, like taking a running engine out and putting it out. Well, I wouldn't feel bad at all. No, I put LS in anything. But even still, you know, I'd rather have it without an engine. I'd rather roll it in and then drive it out.
Yeah.
So how many LS motors can I sell you?
You got 6.0s?
I do have those, and I got 1.62.
Well,
we'll talk about that 6.2.
That's what I was telling you about, Terry.
Yeah, we'll talk about that 6.2. And 6.0, it's got to be an LY6.
Whatever that
means. Saying.
Whatever that means, call me tomorrow, and while I'm with them all, I got them all lined up. 10 of them are already sold. I'm
really interested in 6.2. Hey, Stacey, you remember earlier in the show I was watching, Lewis was saying something about the OBS truck. He has a friend that just picked one up.
Yeah. Of course. You know, you were talking about those at SEMA.
Yes. Yeah. So,
hey, Terry, I forgot to tell you. I forgot to tell you, Terry. A guy stopped by the other day and offered me $8,000 for that red truck sitting out front, and so I owe you $2,800.
Okay, we got it. It's in Tyler's shop. But no, we found one. It was the story is really cool the way it happened. You know, just on eBay, because like PSI, they make this whole rear setup where you can use a Gen 5 Camaro in the back of an OBS truck. And I work with PSI, and it was like, hey, Terry, do you happen to have one? I was like, no, but I'm looking for one, you know, like whatever. So I was like, now I'm really looking for it because I got the whole nationwide truck search. And I went online and eBay, and I saw a lady, she was selling it for she wanted $3,000 for it. And it's in really good shape. Hadn't ran since 2016. So found out where she was. She was in Indiana. And I was like, wait a second, hold on. You know, let me see how far she is from PRI. She's like 40 minutes away. And so that's when I called Tyler up. I said, Tyler, you're going to PRI. If I win this truck, could you bring it back up? You know, he said he'd bring his trailer, him and Lewis Lee. And I put a bid in.
Wait a second. You talked to me on like Saturday night and said, hey, could you bring this truck back if I buy it? And I was like, yeah, probably. Let me know. And then we're supposed to leave Friday morning to go to PRI. And he calls me at like 4 p.m. on Thursday and says, oh, yeah, I won that truck. Make sure you take the trailer. And I had to do wheel bearings and fix the trailer lights and all this other stuff.
They did me a solid. So we got it back. And the lady was selling it because she said what happened was it was making some weird noise. Basically, it was a show truck back in the night. You're going to see videos. I took a lot of videos. I'm going to be posting them soon. It was a show truck back like in the late 90s. All right. And a husband, you know, pretty much was a body man. So he did a lot of body work. He fiberglassed the ground effects here. It's a nice looking step side OBS. And they got divorced. And so I guess I don't know if it was a bidder, but they don't even talk. So he was the only guy that was fixing the truck. And when it started, she went out one morning and it started making this weird noise. She thought it was a fan shroud. It didn't turn out to be that. She had it towed to the auto shop. And he sat on it for like 3 weeks. And then she was like, I got to get my truck out of there. Brought it back home, let it sit. It's been sitting since 2016. We picked it up. We started up. We heard that noise. Right? We got it up on the lift, and you know what the noise was? The transmission and the motor and the inspection plate, they were moving. The transmission was loose. The bolts that were holding the transmission to the block were loose.
Huh.
So it was making a horrible ticking noise. So I went in there. Tyler found it because we were both looking at it. We was like, what is this noise coming from? And next thing I see, Tyler's eyes get all big, like, you know, and he was just like, I was like, yeah.
I ran to my toolbox. I ran to my toolbox and I grabbed a pry bar and I just stuck it between the transmission and the engine where the gap was, and the noise completely stopped. I was like, ha ha.
Wow. I was like, I get 9/16, tighten this boy up. Tighten it up, and it runs beautiful.
Cut out and call it a night. Stacey, thank you for having us tonight.
Awesome. It's great to see you, man.
Thank you.
All right. See you Thursday.
See you, no class.
Have a good night, Paul.
So now Tyler's trying to sell my truck for $8,000.
If I don't steal it first.
Yeah, it runs great. It doesn't make any noises. It's great.
I tell you, the one I'm looking for, like I said, is the GMC, like the 99 to like 04.
Oh, those are nice. I like
those. Single cab step side, the one they called the super truck or the sport truck.
Yep.
And
with the rounded over hood in the front.
Yes, and it had a little oval grill, but it's the regular cab. You know, basically it looked like a Lightning. They copied the body style. That thing with an LS in it, with a blower and all kinds of good stuff for turbos, that'd be wicked. And just a great body style. And
this one that you got in front of your house, right, Tyler?
I figured one of you guys might have one.
You know, I just like the trucks, man. And I you know, but now I'm a truck guy.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Chevelle.
That's it right there.
Yeah. That's it.
Is that a regular cab or has that got an extended cab?
It's a single cab. Regular cab.
Yeah. That's the body style I'm after. They had the best grill, and the Chevy Silverados still had that goofy. They couldn't decide if it was a 2 headlight or quad headlight. I don't know. But the GMC is a good looking truck.
What year are you looking for?
There's that grill.
Yeah.
Stacey. Are you looking for something in the 90s or?
Yeah, I think it was 99 to 04 is when they did that grill.
That's a 99.
Yeah. And they're not that expensive yet. That body style hasn't taken off at all.
Since you said something, though, tomorrow morning you'll wake up kicking yourself.
Oh yeah, I'll be all over. Like
Listen, I have a screen capture of Stacey David saying that this is the next hot thing. So
yeah, I just posted it on my Instagram. Thanks a lot. We're gonna cash in on you there, bud.
I tell you what, I got a funny story about that body style of GMC. We did one on trucks, and I did it kind of as an outdoor truck, and we did it for SEMA. So, and this was probably like 2000, 2001-ish. So it shows up at SEMA and GMC is all excited and everything. And of course, I put a nice billet grill in it because that's what you did. And get that big, ugly red GMC logo out of there. Well, I didn't realize you do not take their logo off for SEMA. So I'm walking up there. Nobody told me, you know, back then, nobody told anybody anything. So I'm walking around it, and there's these guys, all these suits from GMC, and they're looking at the truck. And they're like, "You build this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And we had all the stuff about the show. They're like, "Where'd the grill go?" I said, "Well, I took it off." They're like, "Well, what happened to our logo?" I said, "Well, it's probably in the trash." You know. And they're like, "Well, why'd you take our logo off?" I said, "Because it looked bad." I said, "It's a custom build." Yeah, we were totally on the wrong, you know, communication planet. And they're like, "Well, yeah, you shouldn't have taken your grill out. You know, you're not supposed to take our logo off." And I'm like, nobody told us that. You know, you kind of need to tell me that kind of stuff.
Tell them it's on the steering wheel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's still on the steering wheel. And I think I peeled it off the side, too. It said, like, GMC 1500, all that was gone. I peeled all that off.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they don't like stuff like that.
Oh, they're like, yeah, I took our logo off.
Was that one blue with a roll pan in the back?
What's that now?
Was that like a royal or navy blue with a roll pan in the back?
No, this one was red. This was, and it was a GMC Sierra.
Oh, there it is.
And yeah, that's it. That's it. And it's a nice truck. I think that one was owned by GMC, actually. That was one of the last ones that I did at the time for a company for their SEMA vehicle. And I stopped building them for the Chevy and GMC and stuff, because what they would do is that they would take those vehicles, pull all the good parts off. Somebody would send it to the crusher.
Really?
And so, yeah. And it was like, you know, if I'm going to do that, I would rather take one of your guys' vehicles and do something to it. That way it goes to a car guy instead of just some dude at, you know, GM or whatever.
There's the billet grill.
Yeah. So
without the emblem.
So
it's a great looking front end.
I know where a mint condition OBS body is, but I'm not sure if you're looking for half ton, extended cab, dually wheel, or.
Well, I'm not after the OBS. It's the body style after the OBS. It started in '99. See, OBS went to 80, 98 to
88 to 98.
Yeah.
So Joey, I'm looking for one. What? Send me the info.
Well, this is a truck that was actually being put back together. My uncle had just gotten it back from paint like 2 weeks before he died.
Oh man!
And that was in 2010, and it's been in that garage since then. No one's touched it, so it needs to be finished. But as far as paint and as far as rust, there was none. It was a Florida truck, and it needed new paint. So that's what it got. And then
so there's an engine in it right now. It runs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, a little bit of work after all these years. Obviously, it's
right.
You know, it's going to be gone through. It was running when he pulled it in there. Let's put it that way. Which I hear that all the time. Oh, it was running when it parked it 10 years ago.
Great. Till it didn't.
Yeah.
Joey, send me the info on it.
Yeah, I'll get with my cousin and see, you know, if he's got any pictures or if I can get into the garage and get pictures or whatnot.
Hurry up. You got to get him before he finds out that Stacey David said that's the next hot thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't, he says I know the truck, but I honestly, there's so many of them in the family as far as those trucks that I can't place which one it would be. So I guess if I saw it, I'd probably know the truck, but I don't. And as far as I know, it's white. So,
okay.
But
yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I hate to leave the party early, but my earbuds are dead, and I got to get some more stuff done at the house before I go back to the shop. So,
all right,
sounds good, man. Good to see you.
Good
seeing you again, Stacey.
All right.
All right.
We'll Tyler.
Take care.
Later, Tyler. But yeah, Lewis, I'll get all the information I can and text it over to you. So
okay.
It's time for me to head on out. My cat wants to go to bed, so I gotta, put him down.
Sounds good. I saw that tail walking around in there.
You saw little his brother's around here somewhere, But yeah. Right, Noki. And we have a kid. The other one's Memphis. His name is Memphis.
I love it.
yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna head on out. I got 5:30 comes early in the morning, man.
All right, Terry. Good to see you, man.
All right,
Always
Terry,
a pleasure.
Terry.
Always good. We're gonna jam, man. We gotta jam.
Listen, when you guys come down, we'll do it. We'll
we're
some
coming
take
for
on it too, man.
Yeah.
We'll do
a
some
little video on
nice
that
smoky blues.
There we
Yeah.
go. I'm practicing my shuffles, my Purdy shuffles.
Well, we need to get Ted Nugent involved on this.
Ted's in town from time to time.
Yeah.
It
Last
was
time
cool. I
saw
remember
him-
you had him on the show. You were doing his Bronco, I think it was.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. We had him on the show a couple times.
Yeah, you were doing
Yeah.
the Bronco, and y'all guys were just jamming away. I was like, oh man,
Oh, my
look at
gosh.
these guys.
Oh, they were shredding those guitars.
Oh, we got some.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got some stuff with Ted that there's a lot of stuff that no one's ever seen.
Right.
Yeah, we just couldn't put on the air. Hilarious stuff. Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the guys are a riot.
Yeah, we'll start. The best thing that I did with him is like, anytime you get like a musician, especially guitar players, a lot of times if they're sitting there with a guitar, they'll start noodling around as they talk. And they kind of, it's just something that we do. So they'll be talking, you know, and you'll be hitting some little riffs, you know. It drives my wife crazy when I do that because I'll say, so what are you doing? You know, whatever. Okay, so Ted starts doing this. We're rolling tape on it, man. And I'm in stitches because he doesn't realize what he's doing. And there's no way he could duplicate it. But he's like, yeah, you know, I said, I used to have a Chevy. I hate him. You know, this kind of thing. He goes, I'm a Ford guy. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is classic.
Yeah.
Classic stuff.
Yeah, he was playing at the convention center in Pikeville, Kentucky. And I knew the news reporting lady, the local news lady named Shannon Deskins. She was going to be going backstage to do interviews with the band and everything.
Yeah.
I said, Shannon, I said, you're taking me with you. She's like, but you don't have a pass. I said, throw a freaking camera in my hand.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just want to go back there. And so I got to go back there. I'm carrying one of the local news station's bag and a camera with one hand, you know. And anyway, there's this guy in the hallway. I could see all the way at the other end of the hall in this back stage area, Ted and most of the band. And there's a guy standing next to me talking to me, you know, and asking me who I was there with. And I said, well, I'm with these guys over here. They're getting ready to do interviews with Ted and everybody. And they said, are you always with them? I said, no, I don't even freaking work for him. I'm just carrying a freaking bag because I want to meet Ted.
Yeah.
The guy's like, well, why don't you just say that? We can make it happen. So I got to meet Ted backstage at this convention center, and we hit it off so well because for years I competed in national archery tournaments all across the nation.
Oh,
with one arm. That they nicknamed me the statue because whenever I was at full draw, I didn't move till I released the arrow. Well, we got talking about archery because he's into the blood sport thing. And,
big time.
Yeah. Well, they weren't leaving until that coming Sunday. I got to meet up with him. He wanted to know if there was any local archery ranges. But then he's like, well, I don't have any of my equipment with me. I said, well, don't worry about it. I got a friend over at McDowell, Kentucky that owns an archery shop. We'll hook you up. Well, we go in. I mean, this literally happened. Ted and an entourage of his people, they had me meet up with them there. And we go into my friend Robert's archery shop. And Robert's, his mouth is like hitting the ground because he's like, holy shit, Ted and Tuja just walked into my shop.
Yeah.
You know, which anyway, he sets him up with a bow and some arrows. But the long story short, the riot, the biggest thing, of course, was meeting him. But the one thing, once we got to the range, he's like, all right, how much cash you got? I'm like, why? He says, because I'm about ready to take it all. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, because we're gonna bet on who can do the best shot. I'm like, well, why don't we just do the shots? And then if I did better than you, then you just give me what you got.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we did 4 shots at 20 yards each or distance. And he couldn't believe it that my grouping was so tight. He's like, how did you do that? I said, these are Go Tip arrows and they're finely tuned by the main guy at Go Tip Arrows. And he's like, you got to tell me how you did it though. I said, well, you got these little spinners that you lay out on your table and you lay the arrow, the shaft onto that and you spin it and you just watch it and see where the warp is, you know, and then you cut that end off and, or where the warp is, you cut that off. But then you don't use 12 different jigs to set up your fletching. You use one. This way, they're all the exact same fletching. And I said, and that's how you get a finely tuned arrow to get good groupings. He says, I'm going to try that. I was like, all right, cool. Well, anyway, I didn't get his money and he didn't get mine, but we had a blast.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, that was, what year was that? I think 2007 or 8, somewhere around in there. Yeah.
The Nuge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, guys, we're running on an hour and a half. So we're going to let Stacey get out of here. I know, hour and a half is a long time.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed it, man. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, I tell everybody, your family, come on anytime you want to just hang out.
Be careful, man. I may just do that.
Hey,
We're here. Don't worry.
I tell you what, as soon as that McLaren comes in, I want to share some pictures of that with you because it's really cool.
Okay.
It's been a long process working with those guys, get that out. And I got to send you some updates on that Swamp Sprite too.
Okay, sounds
I'll get
good.
you guys out in that thing once you get down here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. How's the Cheetah coming along? How's the Cheetah doing?
Honestly, my plan is to finish that this year. That is, I've got some other projects sitting ahead of it. I got to finish up. That is one of those vehicles that's mine. I've already got one guy who's a collector. He's a big Corvette guy. And he's like, the Cheetah is mine. And I'm like, no, it's not for sale ever, ever, ever. And he's, got a lot of money, but right now that's my car. I've always wanted one, but like I said, I'm the interior, I'm hand building every aluminum panel inside there. And the crazy thing, see, that car had nothing. So you not only have to design the panels and you have to build them. Mm-hmm. Then you have to build a replica for the other side and put all the stuff in it. So it takes time, but that's the one I really enjoy. But that literally, I've got that new Winters rear end in it. That thing's ready to fire once I get all the little details done on it. So
nice.
And as soon as that's done, that'll make the run. That'll be at SEMA and it'll be in a bunch of booths, and because it's small, it fits in everybody's booth.
Yeah.
Put that in your back pocket.
And it's like, Terry, how tall are you? Aren't you like 6'1" or 2?
Me?
Yeah.
6'3".
6'3". Well, you're going to be borderline. You could fit. And Lewis, you're pretty tall too, aren't you?
6'5".
Yeah, you're going to be too tall.
That's going to be.
I'm used to it.
Well, you can fit in it, but it's going to be. I designed that thing. I mean, I literally built it around me. So I'm 6'1". So anybody from like 5'11" to about 6'3" is going to fit well in there. If you're shorter, you're going to need a pillow because the seats don't adjust. But any taller, I mean, you're going to.
I need to bring a
5'9".
then.
I'm out. Yeah, I'm 5'9".
No, you know what we gotta do? We gotta have me and Lewis sit in that car and play Ben and Hill music.
Just watching you guys get in and out will be the fun part.
Hey, at SEMA, me and Terry got in a Volkswagen Beetle van. And man, we were in there like this.
Volkswagen Beetle van.
Oh my God.
Like I could read.
Moto had this electric Volkswagen there, and I always wanted one. And I was like, just sit in this thing. The steering wheel lays like almost parallel. And man, just like it was horrible.
Yeah.
I felt like I could reach out and clean the headlights off.
That was like back in the day when I worked at the Porsche dealer. They always gave me the 356s. So the trained bear, I'd sit in it, one arm's out the window and the other arm, being 6'3", and 300 pounds in a 356 was a sight to see, And I hated. They always gave me or the 914 or the 356. Anything small, they always like giving it to the big guy. So
crawl into the dash, get in there.
Yeah, that's what they would. I'd be working from the outside, and and they're like, "How can you do that?" I was like, "Well, there's no way I'm fitting under there. I mean, I get under there, I'm not coming back out."
And see, Terry, that's one of the things. For example, like on that Cheetah, there's a lot that goes into that because the car is so small. Where to put the fuse box is a huge deal because you got to be able to service it. You can't once you're in the car. There's no way you can get under the dash. So it can't be under the dash. There's no console to put it in. So I'm either putting it out on the firewall, which I would rather not, or building some sort of cove and a trap door in one of the seals on the side. That's a whole nother fabrication project.
Right.
So
I'm looking forward to seeing that car because I always saw them and I never was up close on one. And I always liked that car. I even had the little AFX car, the little Cheetah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're awesome.
I'm glad you're getting
that was
ready
like
to shut down
Kevin Tetz when I was working on Kevin Tetz's Miata.
Yeah.
I was like, Kevin, I can't sit in this thing. I'm sorry. Because he got the roll cage back there. I was just like, I'll just work on the LS engine. I'm not. No.
Yeah, when I did that,
shoehorn myself in that thing.
Yeah, when I did that Miata, I went in, I reupholstered the seats, and I put the new foam in there, and it made it too tall. So I had to go back in, and I cut out like 2 inches off the foam in the upholstery. Took the upholstery off the seats, cut the foam down, and reupholstered it. And you couldn't tell, but it did drop the seat 2 inches.
Yeah, people don't think about stuff like that. They just think, oh, it's over. But yeah, because like I said, when I sit in Kevin's, I mean, like I just sat on the side and the top of the windshield came up to right here. I was like, okay, that's it. And Kevin, he's a prank, so he's like, get in the car. I said, no, man, get out of here.
Oh yeah,
go to Starbucks. Yeah. Oh man, Stacey, it was a joy. Like thank you, everyone. Go on. Like I said, 5:30 comes real quick, but we will talk, Stacey. We'll talk.
Sounds good. Keep in touch.
All right, Terry. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Take care, Terry.
Take care, Terry.
Take care, gentlemen.
All right.
So, Stacey, I want to ask you one more question before you go. My butt